Hello and welcome to Big Jim Gaming. Video game developers, publishers, the companies that make them, they make millions if they do things right. So you'd think that the people working there are all substantially smarter than your average cat. And for the most part they are. However, we're all human, we all make mistakes, and here's my little list of the dumbest mistakes made recently within video games. Now I am keeping this to fairly recent, within the last 10 years or so, otherwise it'd just be a video about how E.T. the game was the worst thing that ever happened to gaming. We'll go a bit more up to date than that, I think. First of all, no single player in your multiplayer game. I'm looking at you, Call of Duty, Black Ops 4. This game got a lukewarm reception anyway because the multiplayer was very lukewarm. It wasn't great, it wasn't awful, it was just in the middle. But it was the first Call of Duty game, or at least only one I'm aware of, which launched without a single player campaign. Now, fair enough, we don't buy Call of Duty for the single player campaigns only. They're too short, and the multiplayer is what's made it famous. It's the thing that most of us play it for. But that doesn't mean we don't like a single player game. Look at the absolute raging success of Modern Warfare Remastered, which does have probably the most famous single player campaign in a Call of Duty game. We do care about it, we like it, and the fact you took it away, yet still charged the same amount of money, not cool. Fortunately, that's a mistake they've remedied with future games afterwards. My biggest bugbear in gaming at the moment: launching games unfinished. There is only one reason you launch a game before it's ready: greed. You want to get the money in as quick as you can, you can't wait anymore for that influx of cash. Now, I appreciate there's lots of different things that might be involved in that, like you've got staff to pay, you might not have any money to pay them. I don't care. Don't launch games that aren't ready. It's not fair. You charge full price for it, don't you? And it's broken. And you take the attitude that you can release a patch and fix it another time, and we'll be okay with that. We're not. Let's take two big examples here. First of all, Assassin's Creed Unity. Yeah, that one. Massive, massive patch, and it still wasn't anywhere near perfect. People who got this, who pre-ordered this, and being Assassin's Creed, a big franchise, it was highly anticipated. I think we were conned. There's no way that game should have been released. Not in that state. It wasn't fair to the player base. It got a very bad name for the franchise, and for that game in particular. So much so, it's hardly ever mentioned by Ubisoft, or indeed the Assassin's Creed franchise anymore. And it didn't need to be that way. Just finish your game. And if that's not a lesson enough to learn, 2 words: Cyberpunk. Need I say more? Next dumb thing to do: killing beloved characters. Now, especially if you're playing a franchise or a sequel or a trilogy or a prequel, you're invested in the world, you're invested in the characters. So in The Last of Us 2, spoiler alert here, you killed Joel. Now, I appreciate you wanted to be shocking, and The Last of Us 2 is still an amazing game, but you killed Joel, and you gave us Abby. Not cool, Naughty Dog. We liked Joel. You shouldn't have killed him. Not cool. Changing what made them great in the first place. Now, video games have to evolve. You have to keep moving. I appreciate if you stand still, everybody overtakes you. But there's ways to do that. Now, Assassin's Creed has done quite well with when they rebooted the series with Origins, Odyssey, and Valhalla. I'll be honest, I actually prefer the old school ones. That's why I'm so excited for Mirage. But they did well, they kept the player base informed, and even grew it as well. They kept the series relevant. Resident Evil 6, however, did not. I want to be clear here. Resident Evil 6 is a good game. It's great fun. But it is not a survival horror. It's a third-person shooter. It's a very good one, very engaging, but it's still a third-person shooter. The horror elements, you could say they were there, but not that much, not compared to what they used to be. And there was no survival side other than the fact of don't die, like in every third-person shooter. Ammunition is aplenty, hordes and hordes of enemies for you to mow down. It just wasn't the same. It was a really good zombie third-person shooter, and if you haven't played it and you can pick it up cheap, which you can, give it a go. I enjoyed the game, but it wasn't really a Resident Evil game, and I think that they knew that, and that's why Resident Evil 7 Biohazard, with some changes to keep it relevant, to keep moving forward, went back to the survival horror roots, and it's amazing. As is Village. Another little bugbear of mine here, forcing me to have a publisher's account. Ubisoft is a good example of that, as is Activision and EA. Why? If I want an account with you, I'll open one. Don't force me to. I've bought the game, I've got the right to play it without you putting conditions on it. I paid my money, let me enjoy it. It really just frustrates me, so much so that I actually keep trying to find workarounds to avoid it. And I found a few, but some I can't get past. Let me choose if I want to give you my information or not. Remasters that aren't remasters. Now, I love a good remaster. If I've got a game which either I didn't get to play first time around, and I'll get to play it, up-to-date graphics, up-to-date controls, up-to-date machines. That's brilliant. Also, if I've got something I remember very fondly, I want to play a more up-to-date version to enjoy it. So I love a good remaster. What if they're not good though? The GTA trilogy. That's quite infamous now, isn't it? That should have been such a good thing to have done. And I will say now, actually, you can still have fun with them, but you have to go into it eyes wide open. It's a bit buggy, it's a bit glitchy, it's not as good as you expect it to be. What about Mafia 2, the remaster? It wasn't bad, but it was pretty much exactly the same as the original Mafia 2. They didn't make it look any better or change it in any way that I can perceive, just charge more for it. And the 13 remake. Now, this one might have slipped you by. It's almost a little bit of a hidden gem game on the PS2. But one I'm very fond of. It was the first game I played with that comic book art style, and I really enjoyed it. So I actually got the remake on launch day. It looks worse, it plays worse, even the sound effects are worse. You've got something good, make it better, not worse. Simple. So don't get it wrong. This is something that seems to have stopped recently, I'm pleased to say, but it did happen a lot. Releasing gameplay footage, which is better than the real gameplay is going to be. I don't know if you remember this, the original Watch Dogs. When Ubisoft launched this, it was a really big deal. It was going to be their rival to Grand Theft Auto, but with the twist. And I've got to say, of all three games, I enjoy all three. They're really good games. And the gameplay graphics on the original one are quite good, but they're nowhere near as good as the original launch trailer led to believe. And that got a lot of hate, and they deserved it. The silly thing is, they had a good product, they just needed to be honest about. But they're so desperate to fight GTA and take the crown, they lied, they misled. And they didn't need to. Thankfully though, that does seem to be coming to a bit of an end now. But it does still happen. And they never seem to show you any gameplay with any bugs or glitches, do they? They're surprises. And finally, getting your launch price wrong. Now, I'm actually talking consoles here more than games. There's been a few examples. The PlayStation 3, for example, was launched for $499 US. Not easy to compete with the Xbox 360 when it was $100 cheaper, was it? So much so, they had to lower the price to match it. That would have hurt their initial sales, quite badly actually, because it didn't need to happen. They perhaps should have researched things a little bit better, or dare I say, not been so greedy. It also happened with the Nintendo 3DS. This launched at $250, which was quite a jump from the original DS launch price, but massively improved graphically, and obviously a lot more advanced as well. It also didn't have many launch games, so it didn't sell very well. So very quickly Nintendo took a whole third off the price, which did leave a bit of a bad taste in the mouth for the people who bought it on launch, and they did launch an apology saying, sorry. The Nintendo 3DS actually ended up being a very, very successful handheld console. But I can't help wondering, if they hadn't have made that drastic decision to cut the launch price, would it have been? And again, if they managed to do it so quickly and so much, were they just being greedy when they didn't need to be? And just as a closing thing, because it really pisses me off, back to PlayStation being greedy again, the 30 quid price increase we've all had in the UK on the PS5. Yes, I know it's gone up different amounts in euros and it's gone up again differently in Japan. I know it's not gone up in America yet, although likely it will, I would imagine. I don't know, I'm not clairvoyant. But what timing? Look at the state of the world, look at the state of the economy, look at the state of people's bills and bank balances. And you add 30 quid on. There's been a lot of hate because of it, and it's deserved. Read your market. Get your launch price right. Stick to it. I'm sure there's many, many people who have paid lots of money to get these things right. So, do. They're my examples of the dumbest things that I've seen happen in recent history with gaming. What do you think? Am I being a bit harsh there on some things? Have I missed something out which you think is blaringly obvious? Let me know in the comments below. Love to hear from you all. I want some input and feedback, so please don't be shy. Until next time, watch this space, plenty more to come.